So you might have noticed while watching the first 2 seasons of Hell's Paradise that the basic core element of its quote-unquote power system is surprisingly abstract. Philosophical, spiritual, metaphysical even. Tao is often described as basically some kind of inner essence which is strengthened by a sense of balance, perception, focus, efficiency, and meditation, often using the flow of one's opponent's own energy against them, etc. It's a concept heavily influenced by traditional Eastern spiritual concepts similar to yin-yang, as well as Judo or Wu-Wei, the art of effortless action or non-action, which I think we can all admit is a fairly odd choice for the core concept in a battle shonen's power system. Luckily, it was a fairly familiar concept to me as someone who just so happens to have read what is known as the Tao Te Ching, which you might loosely translate as the Book of the Way or the Book of the Middle Way a few times in the past. Alright, so the Tao, or Tao, depending on which pronunciation you go with, is an ancient Chinese concept coming from Taoism, an ancient philosophy or spiritual practice. It's not something that I would personally think of strictly as a religion per se, at least as I think of religions as a Westerner. After all, there is no singular, canonical, holy book, and there are no gods in any of the most famous or foundational Taoist texts, like the Tao Te Ching. There are many writers, philosophers, and legendary masters viewed with arguably reverence within the ancient tradition of Taoism, but as far as I know, no central figures or individual gods or anything of that sort, at least that originate from the oldest books on the belief system, and from everything I've read, it doesn't seem like a particularly moralizing belief system, at least in its purest form. That doesn't mean that it isn't viewed by many traditional Chinese people, of course, as a religion, but once again, I think as Westerners, such as myself, think of the concept of religion itself, we would typically think of it comparatively more as a spiritual philosophy. But of course, once again, many traditional-minded Chinese people do still think of it as a religion. For those who do, it appears to technically be a polytheistic religion featuring multiple deities who represent different aspects of the Tao, but none of which are superior to it. The 3 most prominent of these gods are the 3 pure ones: Jade Purity, the original and primordial Heavenly Lord; Upper Purity, the Divine Treasures Heavenly Lord; and Grand Purity, the Heavenly Lord of Way and Virtue. And by God, that's a mouthful. For clarity's sake, these are not directly related to the 3 treasures described in verse 67 of the Tao Te Ching, compassion, frugality, and humility, but are apparently often connected to the alchemical concepts of Jing or essence, Qi or breath, and Shin or spirit. And I don't know what any of that means, so best of luck understanding all of that and how it relates to the system overall. The Tao itself, on the other hand, is not considered a deity per se, as per its descriptions, as much as it is simply the name given to the middle way, or the natural order of things. You might also think of it as the straight and narrow, if you want to think about it more in Western terms. Now, the Tao Te Ching is not the only text on this philosophy, but it is the oldest, most comprehensively preserved book on Taoism, and most certainly the most famous and prolific, with the number of translations existing only beaten out by the Bible, to my knowledge. At least that was last time that I checked on that. General consensus places it at around 2,500 years old, with the oldest Chinese text that we know of, the I Ching, being around 3,000 years old. Technically, the I Ching is not a book so much on Taoism, but a more fundamental, foundational book on ancient Chinese philosophy, generally speaking, but I digress. Back to the Tao Te Ching. As far as I understand it, and obviously there's no way of really knowing 100% where the book comes from, but the most sensible explanation that I've heard is that around 2,500 years ago, the advisors for the then emperor or heir to the throne of China commissioned a book to be written to help guide the emperor in the way to rule a large nation without using unnecessary force. This book was commissioned to be written by a famously wise sage and Taoist who was known as Lao Tzu. The book is a short read of 81 verses, or chapters, which can be read in a light afternoon basically, written often in thought-provoking questions and head-scratching parables, not too dissimilar to the writing style and dialogue contained in the four Gospels of Jesus Christ: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. The contents of the book often touch on the ideas of balance and what is known as the way, or the middle way, living on the straight and narrow, moderation, action without effort, commonly referred to as Wu Wei, and similarly, the idea of ruling without force, the willingness to live a simple, humble life without unnecessary complications, and ancient wisdom both on how to live a peaceful life and how to purport oneself when found in the unpeaceful times which are inevitable every now and then, and etc. Personally, I think that of all the wise, ancient, spiritual, and philosophical texts, the Tao Te Ching is certainly one of them. A short read which I have always found effective at bringing me back down to earth, back to effectively identifying what is actually necessary within life, when I felt that I was lost without the way.
Do you know the way?
Anyway, that's enough rambling history, summaries, and introductions. What follows is my reading of the newest translation of the Tao Te Ching by Jane English and Jia Fong. I love this translation because, unlike many others I've read, it foregoes unnecessarily flowery embellishments in favor of at least relatively straightforward language, about as straightforward as ancient Chinese parables can be anyway. Fitting for a book which ends with the phrase, "Beautiful words are not true. Truthful words are not beautiful." There are also some additional translator's notes from yours truly in the pinned comment below, comparing the changes made in the newly updated version of their previous one, with the old one arguably being more accurate to its ancient context as a book written primarily for emperors and leaders, and honestly, the version that I must admit to being partial to myself. There's a certain blunt edge to it that I think is missing in many spiritual and philosophical books, or at least many of their translations. And to be completely honest with you, I read this one because I picked up the physical version and didn't realize that it was, in fact, an updated translation, and by the time I realized in the middle of reading it, I figured it'll be okay, it's not that different than the one I'm especially used to, and it was honestly interesting enough just going through it, comparing and seeing the different changes and updates that they've made. But anyway, the new one is arguably more universally written to address the modern world's every man and every woman, while retaining at least mostly the same presentation. For example, perhaps the key example, many instances of the term "the king" have been changed to "the human," etc. Obsessively detailed comparison below for those who want a little more understanding into the original context, and I'll also transcribe the previous translation on screen as well, because I do find the differences themselves pretty interesting. It's almost like watching the level of an anime translation's localization level tick up exactly one increment in real time, in that it places just ever so slightly more value on reaching and relating to a wider breadth of the target audience, while giving up just a little bit of the directness of the original meaning and context. And once again, I'll admit I am a little bit partial to the original translation, although I don't think that this one is like some terrible botched localization or anything like that. It's mostly the same, but I did think that it was important to leave the old one in here in some form. And with all that out of the way, I give you my reading of the updated translation of the Tao Te Ching by Jane English and Jia Fong. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. The nameless is the beginning of heaven and earth. The named is the mother of 10,000 things. Ever desireless, one can see the mystery. Ever desiring, one can see the manifestations. These two spring from the same source, but differ in name. This appears as darkness, darkness within darkness, the gate to all mystery. Under heaven, all can see beauty as beauty, only because there is ugliness. All can know good as good, only because there is evil. Therefore having and not having arise together. Difficult and easy complement each other. Long and short contrast each other. High and low rest upon each other. Voice and sound harmonize each other. Front and back follow each other. Therefore, the wise go about doing nothing, teaching no talking. The 10,000 things rise and fall without cease, creating yet not possessing, working yet not taking credit. Work is done, then forgotten. Therefore, it lasts forever. Not exalting the gifted prevents quarreling. Not collecting treasures prevents stealing. Not seeing desirable things prevents confusion of the heart. The wise therefore rule by emptying hearts and stuffing bellies, by weakening ambitions and strengthening bones. If people lack knowledge and desire, then it is best not to interfere. If nothing is done, then all will be well. The Tao is an empty vessel. It is used, but never filled. O unfathomable source of 10,000 things, blunt the sharpness, untangle the knot, soften the glare, merge with dust. O hidden deep, but ever present, I do not know from whence it comes. It is the forefather of the ancestors. Heaven and earth are impartial. They see the 10,000 things as they are. The wise are impartial. They see the people as they are. The space between heaven and earth is like a bellows. The shape changes, but not the form. The more it moves, the more it yields. More words count less. Hold fast to the center. The valley spirit never dies. It is the woman, primal mother. Her gateway is the root of heaven and earth. It is like a veil barely seen. Use it, it will never fail. Heaven and earth last forever. Why do heaven and earth last forever? They are unborn, so ever living. The wise stay behind, and are thus ahead. They are detached, thus at one with all. Through selfless action, they attain fulfillment. The highest good is like water. Water gives life to the 10,000 things, and does not strive. It flows in places people reject, and so is like the Tao. In dwelling, be close to the land. In meditation, go deep in the heart. In dealing with others, be gentle and kind. In speech, be true. In ruling, be just. In business, be competent. In action, watch the timing. No fight, no blame. Better stop short than fill to the brim. Oversharpen the blade, and the edge will soon blunt. Amass a store of gold and jade, and no one can protect it. Claim wealth and titles, and disaster will follow. Retire when the work is done. This is the way of heaven. Carrying body and soul and embracing the one, can you avoid separation? Attending fully and becoming supple, can you be as a newborn babe? Washing and cleansing the primal vision, can you be without stain? Loving the people and ruling the country, can you be without cleverness? Opening and closing the gates of heaven, can you play the role of woman? Understanding and being open to all things, are you able to do nothing? Giving birth and nourishing, bearing yet not possessing, working yet not taking credit, leading yet not dominating. This is the primal virtue. 30 spokes share the wheel's hub. It is the center whole that makes it useful. Shape the clay into a vessel. It is the space within that makes it useful. Cut doors and windows for a room. It is the holes that make it useful. Therefore, profit comes from what is there, usefulness from what is not there. The 5 colors blind the eye. The 5 tones deafen the ear. The 5 flavors dull the taste. Racing and hunting madden the mind. Precious things lead us astray. Therefore, the wise are guided by what they feel and not by what they see, letting go of that and choosing this. Accept disgrace willingly. Accept misfortune as the human condition. What do you mean by accept disgrace willingly? Accept being unimportant. Do not be concerned with loss or gain. This is called accepting disgrace willingly. What do you mean by accept misfortune as the human condition? Misfortune comes from having a body. Without a body, how could there be misfortune? Surrender yourself humbly, then you can be trusted to care for all things. Love the world as your own self, then you can truly care for all things. Look, it cannot be seen, it is beyond form. Listen, it cannot be heard, it is beyond sound. Grasp, it cannot be held, it is intangible. These 3 are indefinable, therefore they are joined in one. From above, it is not bright. From below, it is not dark. An unbroken thread beyond description. It returns to nothingness. The form of the formless. The image of the imageless. It is called indefinable and beyond imagination. Stand before it, and there is no beginning. Follow it, and there is no end. Stay with the ancient Tao. Move with the present. Knowing the ancient beginning is the essence of Tao. The ancients were subtle, mysterious, profound, responsive. The depth of their knowledge is unfathomable. Because it is unfathomable, all we can do is describe their appearance. Watchful, as though crossing a winter stream. Alert, like people aware of danger. Courteous, like visiting guests. Yielding, like ice about to melt. Simple, like uncarved blocks of wood. Hollow, like caves. Opaque, like muddy pools. Who can wait quietly while the mud settles? Who can remain still until the moment of action? Observers of the Tao do not seek fulfillment. Not seeking fulfillment, they are not swayed by desire for change. Empty yourself of everything. Let the mind become still. The 10,000 things rise and fall while the self watches their return. They grow and flourish and then return to the source. Returning to the source is stillness, which is the way of nature. The way of nature is unchanging. Knowing constancy is insight. Not knowing constancy leads to disaster. Knowing constancy, the mind is open. With an open mind, you will be open-hearted. Being open-hearted, you will act royally. Being royal, you will attain the divine. Being divine, you will be at one with the Tao. Being at one with the Tao is eternal. And though the body dies, the Tao will never pass away. Very few are aware of the highest. Then comes that which they know and love. Then that which is feared. Then that which is despised. Those who do not trust enough will not be trusted. When actions are performed without unnecessary talk, people say, "We did it." When the great Tao is forgotten, kindness and morality arise. When wisdom and intelligence are born, the great pretense begins. When there is no peace within the family, filial piety and devotion arise. When the country is confused and in chaos, loyal ministers appear. Give up sainthood, renounce wisdom, and it will be 100 times better for everyone. Give up kindness, renounce morality, and people will rediscover filial piety and love. Give up ingenuity, renounce profit, and bandits and thieves will disappear. These 3 are the outward forms alone. They are not sufficient in themselves. It is more important to see the simplicity, to realize our true nature, to cast off selfishness and temper desire. Give up learning and put an end to your troubles. Is there a difference between yes and no? Is there a difference between good and evil? Must I fear what others fear? What nonsense! Other people are contented, enjoying the sacrificial feast of the ox. In spring, some go to the park and climb the terrace, but I alone am drifting, not knowing where I am. Like a newborn babe before it learns to smile, I am alone, without a place to go. Others have more than they need, but I alone have nothing. I am a fool. Oh yes, I am confused. Others are clear and bright, but I alone am dim and weak. Others are sharp and clever, but I alone am dull and stupid. Oh, I drift like the waves of the sea, without direction, like the restless wind. Everyone else is busy, but I alone am aimless and without desire. I am different. I am nourished by the Great Mother. The greatest virtue is to follow Tao and Tao alone. The Tao is elusive and intangible. Oh, it is intangible and elusive, and yet within is image. Oh, it is elusive and intangible, and yet within is form. Oh, it is dim and dark, and yet within is essence. This essence is very real, and therein lies faith. From the very beginning until now, its name has never been forgotten. Thus I perceive creation. How do I know the ways of creation? Because of this. Yield and overcome. Bend and be straight. Empty and be full. Wear out and be new. Have little and gain. Have much and be confused. Therefore, the wise embrace the one and set an example to all. Not putting on a display, they shine forth. Not justifying themselves, they are distinguished. Not boasting, they receive recognition. Not bragging, they never falter. They do not quarrel, so no one quarrels with them. Therefore the ancients say, yield and overcome. Is that an empty saying? Be truly whole, and all things will come to you. To talk little is natural. High winds do not last all morning. Heavy rain does not last all day. Why is this? Heaven and earth. If heaven and earth cannot make things last forever, how is it possible for us? Those who follow the Tao are at one with the Tao. Those who are virtuous experience virtue. Those who lose their way are lost. When you are at one with the Tao welcomes you. When you are at one with virtue, virtue is always there. When you are at one with loss, loss is experienced willingly. Those who do not trust enough will not be trusted. Those who stand on tiptoe are not steady. Those who stride cannot maintain the pace. Those who put on a show are not enlightened. Those who are self-righteous are not respected. Those who boast achieve nothing. Those who brag will not endure. According to followers of the Tao, these are a necessary food and baggage. They do not bring happiness. Therefore, followers of the Tao avoid them. Something mysteriously formed, born before heaven and earth. In the silence and the void, standing alone and unchanging, ever present and in motion. Perhaps it is the mother of 10,000 things. I do not know its name. Call it Tao. For lack of a better word, I call it great. Being great, it flows. It flows far away. Having gone far, it returns. Therefore, Tao is great, heaven is great, earth is great, The human being is also great. These are the four great powers of the universe, and the human being is one of them. The human being follows the earth. Earth follows heaven. Heaven follows the Tao. Tao follows what is natural. The heavy is the root of the light. The steel is the master of unrest. Therefore the wise, traveling all day, do not lose sight of their baggage. Though there are beautiful things to be seen, they remain unattached and calm. Why should the Lord of 10,000 chariots act lightly in public? To be light is to lose our root. To be restless is to lose control. A good walker leaves no tracks. A good speaker makes no slips. A good reckoner needs no tally. A good door needs no lock, yet no one can open it. Good binding requires no knots, yet no one can loosen it. Therefore, the wise take care of everyone and abandon no one. They take care of all things and abandon nothing. This is called following the light. What is a good person? The teacher of a bad person. What is a bad person? A good person's charge. If the teacher is not respected, and the student not cared for, confusion will arise, however clever one is. This is the crux of mystery. Know the strength of a man, but keep a woman's care. Be the stream of the universe. Being the stream of the universe, ever true and unswerving. Become as a little child once more. Know the white, but keep the black. Be an example to the world. Being an example to the world, ever true and unwavering, return to the infinite. Know honor, yet remain humble. Be the valley of the universe. Being the valley of the universe, ever true and resourceful, return to the state of the uncarved block. When the block is carved, it becomes useful. When the wise use it, they become rulers. Thus, a great tailor makes few cuts. Do you think you can conquer the universe and improve it? I do not believe that this can be done. The universe is sacred. You cannot improve it. If you try to change it, you will only ruin it. If you try to hold on to it, you will only lose it. So sometimes things are ahead and sometimes they are behind. Sometimes breathing is hard, sometimes it comes easily. Sometimes there is strength, and sometimes weakness. Sometimes one is up, and sometimes down. Therefore, the wise avoids extremes, excesses, and complacency. Whenever you advise rulers in the way of the Tao, counsel them not to use force to conquer the universe, for this would only cause resistance. Thorn bushes spring up wherever the army has passed. Lean years follow in the wake of a great war. Just do what needs to be done. Never take advantage of power. Achieve results, but never glory in them. Achieve results, but never boast. Achieve results, but never be proud. Achieve results, because this is the natural way. Achieve results, but not through violence. Force is followed by loss of strength. This is not the way of the Tao. That which goes against the Tao comes to an early end. Good weapons are instruments of fear. All creatures hate them. Therefore, followers of Tao never use them. The wise prefer the left. Soldiers prefer the right. Weapons are instruments of fear. They are not tools of the wise. They use them only when there is no choice. Peace and quiet are dear to their hearts. In victory, no cause for rejoicing. If you rejoice in victory, then you delight in killing. If you delight in killing, you cannot fulfill yourself. On happy occasions, precedence is given to the left. On sad occasions, to the right. In the army, the general stands on the left, the commander-in-chief on the right. This means that war is conducted like a funeral. When many people are killed, they should be mourned in heartfelt sorrow. That is why a victory must be observed like a funeral. The Tao is forever undefined. Small though it is in the unformed state, it cannot be grasped. If leaders could harness it, the 10,000 things would naturally obey. Heaven and earth would come together, and gentle rain fall. People would no longer need laws, and all things would take their course. Once the whole is divided, the parts need names. There are already enough names. We need to know when to stop. Knowing when to stop averts trouble. Tao in the world is like a river flowing home to the sea. Knowing others is wisdom. Knowing the self is enlightenment. Mastering others requires force. Mastering the self needs strength. Those who know they have enough are rich. Perseverance is a sign of willpower. Those who stay where they are endure. To die, but not to perish, is to be eternally present. The great Tao flows everywhere, both to the left and to the right. The 10,000 things depend on it. It holds nothing back. It fulfills its purpose silently and makes no claim. It nourishes the 10,000 things, but does not rule them. It has no aim. It is very small. The 10,000 things return to it, yet it does not rule them. It is very great. It does not show greatness, and is therefore truly great. Everyone is drawn to those who keep to the one, for there lie rest and happiness and peace. Passerby may stop for music and good food, but it is not possible to describe the Tao. Without substance or flavor, it cannot be seen, it cannot be heard, and yet it cannot be exhausted. That which shrinks must first expand. That which fails must first be strong. That which is cast down must first be raised. Before receiving, there must be giving. This is called perception of the nature of things. Soft and weak overcome hard and strong. Fish cannot leave deep water, and a country's weapons should not be displayed. Tao abides in non-action, yet nothing is left undone. If those in power observed this, the 10,000 things would develop naturally. If they still desired to act, they would return to the simplicity of formless substance. Without form, there is no desire. Without desire, there is tranquility. And in this way, all things would be at peace. Truly good people are not aware of their goodness, and are therefore good. Foolish people try to be good, and are therefore not good. Truly good people do nothing, yet leave nothing undone. Foolish people are always doing, yet much remains to be done. When truly kind people do something, they leave nothing undone. When just people do something, they leave a great deal to be done. When disciplinarians do something and no one responds, they roll up their sleeves and try to enforce order. Therefore, when Tao is lost, there is goodness. When goodness is lost, there is kindness. When kindness is lost, there is justice. When justice is lost, there is ritual. Now, ritual is the husk of faith and loyalty, the beginning of confusion. Knowledge of the future is only a flowery trapping of Tao. It is the beginning of folly. Therefore, truly great people dwell on what is real and not what is on the surface, on the fruit and not the flower. Therefore, accept the one and reject the other. These things from ancient times arise from one. The sky is whole and clear. The earth is whole and firm. The spirit is whole and strong. The valley is whole and full. The 10,000 things are whole and alive. Those in power are whole, and the country is upright. All these are in virtue of wholeness. The clarity of the sky prevents it from falling. The firmness of the earth prevents it from splitting. The strength of the spirit prevents it from being exhausted. The fullness of the valley prevents it from drying up. The growth of the 10,000 things prevents their extinction. Good leadership by those in power prevents the country from failing. Therefore, the humble is the root of the noble. The low is the foundation of the high. The wise consider themselves orphaned, widowed, and worthless. Their humility is the source of their strength. Too much success is not an advantage. Do not tinkle like jade, or clatter like stone chimes. Returning is the motion of the Tao. Yielding is the way of the Tao. The 10,000 things arise from being. Being arises from not being. The wise student hears of the Tao and practices it diligently. The average student hears of the Tao and thinks about it now and then. The foolish student hears of the Tao and laughs out loud. If there were no laughter, the Tao would not be what it is. Hence it is said, the bright path seems dim. Going forward seems like retreat. The easy way seems hard. The highest virtue seems empty. Great purity seems sullied. A wealth of virtue seems inadequate. The strength of virtue seems frail. Real virtue seems unreal. The perfect square has no corners. Great talents ripen late. The highest notes are hard to hear. The greatest form has no shape. The Tao is hidden and without name. The Tao alone nourishes and brings everything to fulfillment. The Tao begot one, one begot two, two begot three, and three begot the 10,000 things. The 10,000 things carry yin and embrace yang. They achieve harmony by combining these forces. People hate to be orphaned, widowed, or worthless. But this is how the wise describe themselves. For one gains by losing, and loses by gaining. What others teach, I also teach. That is, a violent person will die a violent death. This is the essence of my teaching. The softest thing in the universe overcomes the hardest thing in the universe. That without substance can enter where there is no room. Hence I know the value of non-action. Teaching without words and working without doing are understood by very few. Fame or self, which matters more? Self or wealth, which is more precious? Gain or loss, which causes more pain? Those who are attached to things will suffer greatly. Those who save will suffer heavy losses. Those who are contented are never disappointed. Those who know when to stop do not find themselves in trouble. They remain forever safe. Great accomplishment seems imperfect, yet it does not outlive its usefulness. Great fullness seems empty, yet it cannot be exhausted. Great straightness seems twisted. Great intelligence seems stupid. Great eloquence seems awkward. Movement overcomes cold. Stillness overcomes heat. Stillness and tranquility restore order in the universe. When the Tao is present in the universe, the horses haul manure. When the Tao is absent from the universe, war horses are bred outside of the city. There is no greater sin than craving, no greater curse than discontent, no greater misfortune than wanting something for ourselves. Therefore, those who know that enough is enough will always have enough. Without going outside, you may know the whole world. Without looking through the window, you may see the ways of heaven. The farther you go, the less you know. Thus the wise know without traveling, see without looking, work without doing. In the pursuit of learning, something is acquired every day. In the pursuit of the Tao, every day something is relinquished. Less and less is done, until non-action is achieved. When nothing is done, nothing is left undone. The world is governed by letting things take their course. It cannot be governed through interference. The wise do not hold opinions. They are aware of the needs of others. I am good to people who are good. I am also good to people who are not good. Because virtue is goodness. I have faith in people who are faithful. I also have faith in people who are not faithful. Because virtue is faithfulness. The wise are shy and humble. They behave like small children. To the world, they seem confusing, yet people look to them and listen. Between birth and death, 3 in 10 are followers of life. 3 in 10 are followers of death. And people just passing from birth to death also number 3 in 10. Why is this? Because they live their lives on the gross level. Those who know how to live walk abroad without fear of rhinoceroses or tigers. They will not be wounded in battle, for in them the rhinoceros finds no place to thrust its horn, nor the tiger to use its claws, and weapons no place to pierce. Why is this? Because they have no place for death to enter. All things arise from Tao. They are nourished by virtue. They are formed from matter. They are shaped by environment. Thus, the 10,000 things respect Tao and honor virtue. Respect of Tao and honor of virtue are not demanded, but they are in the nature of things. Therefore, all things arise from Tao. By virtue they are nourished, developed, cared for, sheltered, comforted, grown and protected, creating without claiming, doing without taking credit, guiding without interfering. This is primal virtue. The beginning of the universe is the mother of all things. Knowing the mother, you also know the sons. Knowing the sons, yet remaining in touch with the mother, brings freedom from the fear of death. Keep your mouth shut, guard the senses, and life is always full. Open your mouth, always be busy, and life is beyond hope. Seeing the small is insight, yielding to force is strength. Using the outer light, return to insight, and in this way be saved from harm. This is learning constancy. If I have even just a little sense, I will walk on the main road, and my only fear will be of straying from it. Keeping to the main road is simple, but people are easily distracted. When the court is arrayed in splendor, the fields are full of weeds, and the granaries are empty. Some wear gorgeous clothes, carry sharp swords, and indulge in food and drink. They have more possessions than they can use. They are robber barons. This is certainly not the way of Tao. What is firmly established cannot be uprooted. What is firmly grasped cannot slip away. It will be honored from generation to generation. Cultivate virtue in yourself, and virtue will be real. Cultivate it in the family, and virtue will abound. Cultivate it in the village, and virtue will grow. Cultivate it in the nation, and virtue will be abundant. Cultivate it in the universe, and virtue will be everywhere. Therefore, look at the body as body. Look at the family as family. Look at the village as village. Look at the nation as nation. Look at the universe as universe. How do I know that the universe is like this? By looking. If you are filled with virtue, you are like a newborn child. Wasps and serpents will not harm you. Wild beasts will not pounce on you. You will not be attacked by birds of prey. Your bones are soft, your muscles weak, but your grip is firm. You have not experienced the union of man and woman, yet you are whole. You are strong. You may shout all day without becoming hoarse. This is perfect harmony. Knowing harmony is constancy. Knowing constancy is enlightenment. It is not wise to rush about. Trying to control the breath causes strain. If too much energy is used, exhaustion follows. This is not the way of Tao. Whatever is contrary to Tao will not last long. Those who know do not talk. Those who talk do not know. Close your mouth. Guard your senses. Temper your sharpness. Simplify your problems. Mask your brightness. Be at one with the dust of the earth. This is primal union. Those who have achieved this state do not distinguish between friends and enemies, between good and harm, between honor and disgrace. This is the highest state of being. Rule a nation with justice. Wage war with surprise tactics. Become the master of the universe without striving. How do I know that this is so? Because of this. The more laws and restrictions there are, the poorer people become. The sharper men's weapons, the more trouble in the land. The more ingenious and clever people are, the more strange things happen. The more rules and regulations, the more thieves and robbers. Therefore, the wise one says, I take no action, and people behave themselves. I enjoy peace, and people become honest. I do nothing, and people become rich. I have no desires, and people return to the good and simple life. When the country is ruled with a light hand, the people are simple. When the country is ruled harshly, the people are cunning. Happiness is rooted in misery. Misery lurks beneath happiness. Who knows what the future holds? There is no honesty. Honesty becomes dishonest. Goodness becomes delusion. People's delusion lasts for a long time. Therefore, the wise are sharp but not cutting, pointed but not piercing, straightforward but not unrestrained, brilliant but not blinding. In caring for others and serving heaven, there is nothing like using restraint. Restraint begins with giving up our own ideas. This depends on virtue gathered in the past. If there is a good store of virtue, then nothing is impossible. If nothing is impossible, then there are no limits. If we know no limits, then we are fit to rule. The mother principle of ruling holds good for a long time. This is called having deep roots and a firm foundation, the Tao of long life and eternal vision. Ruling the country is like cooking a small fish. Approach the universe with Tao, and evil will have no power. Not that evil is not powerful, but its power will not be used to harm others. Not only will it do no harm to others, but the wise will also be protected. We will not hurt one another, and the virtue in each of us refreshes everyone. A great nation is like low land. It is the meeting ground of the universe, the mother of the universe. The female overcomes the male with stillness, lying low in stillness. Therefore, if a great nation yields to a smaller nation, it will conquer the smaller nation. And if a smaller nation submits to a great nation, it can conquer the great nation. Therefore, those who would conquer must yield, and those who conquer do so through yielding. A great nation needs more people. A small nation needs to serve. Each gets what it wants. It is fitting for a great nation to yield. Tao is the source of the 10,000 things. It is the treasure of the good and the refuge of the bad. Sweet words can buy honor. Good deeds can gain respect. If people are bad, do not abandon them. Therefore, on the day the emperor is crowned, or the 3 officers of state installed, do not send a gift of jade and a team of horses, but remain still and offer the Tao. Why does everyone value the Tao so much? Isn't it because you find what you seek and are forgiven when you sin? Therefore, This is the greatest treasure in the universe. Practice non-action. Work without doing. Taste the tasteless. Magnify the small. Increase the few. Reward bitterness with care. See simplicity in the complicated. Achieve greatness in small things. In the universe, the difficult things are done as though they were easy. In the universe, great acts are made up of small deeds. The wise do not attempt anything very big, and thus achieve greatness. Easy promises make for little trust. Taking things lightly results in great difficulty. Because the wise always confronts difficulties, they never experience them. Peace is easily maintained. Trouble is easily overcome before it starts. The brittle is easily shattered. The small is easily scattered. Deal with things before they happen. Put things in order before there is confusion. A tree as great as a man's embrace springs from a small shoot. A terrace 9 stories high begins with a pile of earth. A journey of 1,000 miles starts under one's feet. Those who act defeat their own purpose. Those who grasp lose. The wise do not act, and so are not defeated. They do not grasp, and therefore do not lose. People usually fail when they are on the verge of success, so give as much care to the end as to the beginning. Then there will be no failure. Therefore, the wise seek freedom from desire. They do not collect precious things. They learn not to hold on to ideas. They bring people back to what they have lost. They help the 10,000 things find their own nature, yet they refrain from action. In the beginning, those who knew the Tao did not try to enlighten others, but kept it hidden. Why is it so hard to rule? Because the people are so clever. Rulers who try to use cleverness cheat the country. Those who rule without cunning are a blessing to the land. These are the 2 alternatives. Understanding these is primal virtue. Primal virtue goes deep and far. It leads all things back towards the great oneness. Why is the sea king of 100 streams? Because it lies below them. Therefore, it is the king of 100 streams. If you would guide the people, you must serve with humility. If you would lead them, you must follow behind. In this way, when you rule, the people will not feel oppressed. When you stand before them, they will not be harmed. The whole world will support you and will not tire of you. Because you do not compete, you will not have competition. Everyone under heaven says that my Tao is great and beyond compare. Because it is great, it seems different. If it were not different, it would have vanished long ago. I have 3 treasures which I hold and keep. The first is mercy. The second is economy. The third is daring not to be ahead of others. From mercy comes courage. From economy comes generosity. From humility comes leadership. Nowadays, people shun mercy, but try to be brave. They abandon economy, but try to be generous. They do not believe in humility, but always try to be first. This is certain death. Mercy brings victory in battle and strength in defense. It is the means by which heaven saves and guards. A good soldier is not violent. A good fighter is not angry. A good winner is not vengeful. A good employer is humble. This is known as the virtue of not striving. This is known as the ability to deal with people. This, since ancient times, has been known as the ultimate unity with heaven. There is a saying among soldiers, I dare not make the first move, but would rather play the guest. I dare not advance an inch, but would rather withdraw a foot. This is called marching without appearing to move, rolling up your sleeves without showing your arm, capturing the enemy without attacking, being armed without weapons. There is no greater catastrophe than underestimating the enemy. By underestimating the enemy, I risk losing what I value. Therefore, when the battle is joined, the underdog will win. My words are easy to understand and easy to perform, yet no one under heaven knows them or practices them. My words have ancient beginnings. My actions are disciplined. Because people do not understand, they have no knowledge of me. Those that know me are few. Those that abuse me are honored. Therefore, the wise wears rough clothing and holds the jewel in their heart. Knowing ignorance is strength. Ignoring knowledge is sickness. If one is sick of sickness, then one is not sick. The wise are not sick because they are sick of sickness. Therefore, they are not sick. When people lack a sense of awe, there will be disaster. Do not intrude into their homes. Do not harass them at work. If you do not interfere, they will not weary of you. Therefore, the wise know themselves, but make no show. Have self-respect, but are not arrogant. They let go of that and choose this. A brave and passionate person will kill or be killed. A brave and calm person will always preserve life. Of these two, which is good and which is harmful? Some things are not favored by heaven. Who knows why? Even the wise are unsure of this. The Tao of heaven does not strive, and yet it overcomes. It does not speak, and yet is answered. It does not ask, yet all its needs are met. It seems to have no aim, and yet its purpose is fulfilled. Heaven's net is cast wide. Though its meshes are coarse, nothing slips through. If people are not afraid to die, it is of no avail to threaten them with death. If people live in constant fear of dying, and if breaking the law means that someone will be killed, who will dare to break the law? There is always an official executioner. If you try to take his place, it is like trying to be a master carpenter and cutting wood. If you try to cut wood like a master carpenter, you will only hurt your hand. Why are the people starving? Because the rulers eat up the money and taxes. Therefore, the people are starving. Why are the people rebellious? Because the rulers interfere too much. Therefore, the people are rebellious. Why do the people think so little of death? Because the rulers demand too much of life. Therefore, the people take death lightly. Having little to live on, they know better than to value life too highly. We are born gentle and weak, but at death are stiff and hard. Green plants are tender and filled with sap. At their death, they are withered and dry. Therefore, the stiff and unbending is the disciple of death. The gentle and yielding is the disciple of life. Thus, an army without flexibility never wins a battle. A tree that is unbending is easily broken. The hard and strong will fall. The soft and weak will overcome. The Tao of heaven is like bending a bow. The high is lowered and the low is raised. If the string is too long, it is shortened. If there is not enough, it is made longer. The Tao of heaven is to take from those who have too much and give to those who do not have enough. Ordinary people act differently. They take from those who do not have enough and give to those who already have too much. Who has more than enough and gives it to the world? Only the wise. Therefore, the wise work without recognition. They achieve what has to be done, without dwelling on it. They do not try to show their knowledge. Under heaven, nothing is more soft and yielding than water. Yet for attacking the solid and strong, nothing is better. It has no equal. The weak can overcome the strong. The supple can overcome the stiff. Under heaven, everyone knows this, yet no one puts it into practice. Therefore, the wise say, if you take on the humiliation of the people, you are fit to rule them. If you take upon yourself the country's disasters, you deserve to be ruler of the universe. The truth often sounds paradoxical. After a bitter quarrel, some resentment remains. What can be done about this? The wise keep their half of the bargain, but do not exact their due. Virtuous people perform their part, but those without virtue require others to fulfill their obligations. The Tao of heaven is impartial. It remains with those who are good. A small country has fewer people. Though there are machines that can work 10 to 100 times faster than people, they are not needed. The people take death seriously and do not travel far. Though they have boats and carriages, no one uses them. Though they have armor and weapons, no one displays them. People return to the knotting of rope in place of riding. Their food is plain and healthy, their clothes fine but simple, their homes secure. They are happy in their lives. Though they live within sight of their neighbors, and crowing cocks and barking dogs are heard across the way, yet they leave each other in peace while they grow old and die. Truthful words are not beautiful. Beautiful words are not truthful. Good people do not argue. Those who argue are not good. Those who know are not learned. The learned do not know. The wise never try to hold on to things. The more you do for others, the more you have. The more you give to others, the greater your abundance. The Tao of heaven is sharp, but does no harm. The Tao of the wise is to work without effort.